The stars above Earth shimmered like silent witnesses to what was coming. A massive alien vessel, unlike anything humanity had ever seen, floated just beyond Earth's orbit. Its hull pulsed with soft, eerie light, like the heartbeat of something ancient and alive. It had no markings, no weapons drawn, yet its presence was more threatening than a fleet of warships. Inside the Earth Global Council command chamber, the atmosphere was tense. Leaders from every major nation sat around a circular table, their eyes fixed on the holographic screen hovering above. Then it happened. The screen flickered and went dark. A new image appeared. Tall, regal, and cold, the face of Grand Marshal Velk. His skin was pale silver, his eyes glowing with a pale blue fire. His voice came through with sharp clarity, deep and unwavering. This message is directed to the inhabitants of Terra, designated Earth. You have violated Council protocol by expanding beyond your planetary borders without consent. Your weapons threaten the balance. Your technology spreads chaos. You are hereby ordered to surrender all military operations, disband your space fleet, and submit to Galactic Council rule within 7 cycles. Failure to comply will result in total orbital purification. Your time has run out. The message ended. The council chamber went silent. No one spoke. The weight of what had just been said settled like a storm cloud over the room. In orbit, aboard Earth's flagship, the ESV Valor, Commander Walker stood at the command deck. He watched the same message replay on a private screen. He was a man in his mid-30s, with sharp eyes and a strong, quiet presence. His uniform was clean, his boots polished, but his jaw was tight. He turned to the others in the room. "Council's not bluffing," he said simply. Next to him, Staler, the fleet's head engineer, scoffed. "You think they'll really blast Earth to ash if we ignore them?" Walker nodded. "They've done it before. Other species, other worlds." Silence, then fire. John, the communications officer, spoke up from his station. "Earth's Global Council wants a response. They're calling now." Walker gave a small sigh. "Patch them through." The hologram blinked again, and the council chamber reappeared. This time, Ambassador, Earth's chief diplomatic envoy, stood in front of the camera. "Commander Walker," Ambassador said calmly, "you've seen the message. We need your assessment." "They're not negotiating," Walker said. "This isn't politics. It's an ultimatum, and it ends one way. Us kneeling, or us resisting." A senior council member, older and trembling, leaned into view. "If we fight, billions could die." Walker nodded slowly. "If we surrender, the human race becomes a footnote in someone else's history book. They won't let us grow, won't let us be free. We won't be destroyed, but we won't be living either." There was silence on both ends. Then Ambassador spoke. "How much time do we have?" Walker looked out the window. The alien vessel hovered silently over the horizon, like a god watching mortals decide their fate. 7 days, he said. "That's all we get." Back on Earth, panic began spreading across cities. News reports flashed. Galactic Council demands Earth's surrender. Military leaders divided on response. Evacuations begin in high-risk zones. People looked to the skies. Some prayed. Some packed their bags. Others picked up protest signs. But in orbit, Commander Walker had already made his decision. He looked across his command crew. David, the young pilot prepping fighter squadrons. John, eyes flickering over incoming data feeds. Staler, pacing beside a schematic of Earth's defensive grid. "Begin fleet mobilization," Walker ordered. John blinked. "So, we're not standing down." Walker's voice was steady. "We're standing up." And so, with the stars above watching silently, Earth's answer to the ultimatum was set into motion. Not with words, but with movement. Ships began powering up. Energy cores came online. Earth's first interstellar vanguard fleet was awakening. Far above, the alien vessel turned slowly, watching. 3 days had passed since the Council's ultimatum. Across Earth and its orbital stations, Humanity was preparing for war. Commander Walker stood at the observation deck of the ESV Valor, watching the dark sky filled with Earth's growing fleet. Dozens of starships, big and small, hovered in formation. Some were sleek and advanced. Others were patched together from older parts. Still functional, still dangerous. Status report, Walker said calmly. John, seated at the main console, replied without turning. 45 ships have joined the fleet. 17 are still in transit from Mars and Titan bases. Civilian sectors have been evacuated. Media lockdown is in effect. Public fear is high. Walker nodded. He expected as much. Fear was natural. But fear wouldn't stop them. Begin uplink with all ship captains, he ordered. The holographic table in the center of the command deck came to life. One by one faces appeared. Commanders, captains, and lieutenants from every corner of Earth's defense force. This is Commander Walker, he began. You all know the situation. The Council expects us to bow. I say we stand. I won't lie to you. We're outnumbered, outgunned, and outmatched. He paused. The room was silent. But we have one advantage they don't. We're human. We adapt. We fight with instinct, with heart, and with grit. They think they understand war. Let's show them what survival looks like. The holograms nodded one by one. Orders were given. Formations adjusted. Every ship captain knew what was coming. Down in the engineering bay, Staler was elbow-deep in wires and plasma conduits. He grunted as he yanked a glowing blue core from a containment chamber. Behind him, a young technician watched nervously. Sir, that's unstable. That's the idea, Staler replied. We need this cannon to fire twice as hard, and 3 times as fast. No time for safe. He wiped sweat from his forehead and stood up. Prep the experimental cores. If the captain says we fight, then we fight with everything we've got. In the hangar bay, David, the lead pilot, adjusted his gloves and helmet. Rows of starfighters were lined up like birds ready to fly. Mechanics buzzed around them, checking thrusters and weapons. David walked toward his ship, a sleek black fighter with silver edges. Its name, Ghostblade, was painted in bold letters on the side. A rookie pilot stopped him. Sir, do we really have a chance? David smiled, a little cocky. We're Earth pilots. We don't need a chance. We just need a target. The rookie chuckled nervously. David slapped the side of his fighter. Strap in. It's almost showtime. Inside the intelligence chamber, Ambassador stood over a large display showing alien symbols and movement patterns. He was calm, precise, and focused. His job wasn't to shoot. It was to understand. He turned to Walker, who had entered the room. I've intercepted fragments of the Council's fleet logs, Ambassador said. They're not just sending a warning squad. They're sending a cleansing force. Over 200 ships, led by Grand Marshal Velk himself. Walker's jaw clenched slightly. They're coming to end us, Ambassador continued. Not conquer, not negotiate, end. Walker stared at the map for a long moment. Then we give them a reason to fail. Back on the bridge, John interrupted the silence. Commander, long-range sensors are picking up movement. Multiple alien ships entering the outer zone near Neptune. Small fleet, maybe a probe group. Walker nodded. Send a warning beacon. If they don't turn around, we intercept. 2 hours later, near the edge of the solar system, Earth's ships met the alien scouts. David led the charge. He flew through the void with precision, cutting through enemy ships with sharp turns and blinding speed. His squadron moved like one organism, fast, clever, lethal. Staler's modified weapons performed better than expected. Bolts of searing plasma ripped through the scout ships. One exploded near Neptune's shadow. Another broke apart and spiraled into deep space. It wasn't a full-scale battle, but it was a clear message. The Council wasn't dealing with primitives anymore. Hours later, Velk watched the battle footage from his command ship. He said nothing at first, just stared at the screen. One of his officers stepped forward. Should we consider sending a second wave? Velk slowly turned his head. No. Let them have this victory. Let them believe they are strong. He turned back to the stars. They'll feel the truth soon enough. Back aboard the ESV Valor, the command deck was quiet. John reviewed the damage reports. David returned from the hangar, helmet in hand. Staylor walked in, wiping his greasy hands on his shirt. Ambassador entered next, carrying a datapad full of intercepted messages. Commander Walker stood at the center, arms crossed, gaze firm. "This was the first wave," he said. "They wanted to test us, and we passed." He looked around the room. "But the real storm's coming." He stepped closer to the window. Earth gleamed below, unaware of how close it stood to destruction. "Prepare all ships," he said quietly. "They'll be here soon." The quiet before war never lasted long. In the blackness of space near Europa Station, a ripple of light appeared. Then came the first sign. An alien drone, shaped like a razor, slipped past the outer patrol. Moments later, 2 more followed. By the time sensors picked them up, it was too late. The station's power grid flickered. Inside the command room, red lights began flashing. "System breach," a technician shouted. "They're hacking into the mainframe." John, aboard the ESV Valor, received the emergency alert and opened a live feed. The station's interior lights were dim. Crew members scrambled. Sparks flew from broken panels. The drone had released a virus, fast, efficient, and ruthless. "Shut them down now," John ordered. "Trace the signal and block the relay." He worked quickly, fingers flying across his console. For a moment he saw alien text moving across the screen, coded commands rewriting the station's software. Walker entered the room calmly. "Report." John didn't look up. "Alien code hit Europa. They're trying to disable our orbital defense net. I've stopped most of it, but we lost Europa's long-range array. Blind spot created." Walker's voice remained steady. "Which direction?" John pointed. "Mars quadrant." Walker's eyes narrowed. "They're trying to slip in unnoticed," he said. "Get David in the air. We need eyes on Mars." Meanwhile, below deck in the engineering bay, Staylor worked on the final phase of Project Thor's Hammer. The project had been buried in Earth's defense files for decades. An underground cannon built into Earth's crust, designed to fire charged energy blasts into orbit. It had never been tested in combat. Today, that would change. Staylor slammed a heavy control panel, shut and smiled at the humming core. "Ready for power-up," he said, into his comm. A voice responded. "Staylor, this thing has never been used. If it backfires." "It won't," Staylor said. "And if it does, well, we're dead anyway." He flipped the switch. Deep beneath the Earth, the old cannon stirred. Above, David launched from the hangar in his ship Ghostblade, leading a squad of 6 fighters toward Mars. The red planet came into view quickly, followed by something far more troubling. A line of stealth alien ships parked behind its shadow. David's voice came through the comm. "Commander, I've got eyes on them. A whole wave waiting behind Mars. Looks like they're prepping for an ambush." Walker replied, "Do not engage. Just observe." David zoomed in closer, but one of the alien ships suddenly activated. Its engines fired up and moved directly toward them. "They've seen us," David shouted. "Squad, break formation." The alien ship fired a burst of plasma. 2 Earth fighters exploded in a flash. David spun his ship and returned fire. His shots hit, forcing the enemy back. But more ships began to move. "We're outnumbered," his wingmate cried. "Stay tight," David commanded. "We're not here to win. We're here to survive." Back on the Valor, Walker watched the feed. "We can't lose that intel," he said. "Prep the relay. John, send a direct pulse to Earth defense. They need to power up Thor's hammer." Inside the Earth Council chamber, chaos had broken out. Some members demanded a full retreat. Others argued for surrender, calling Walker reckless. Ambassador stood alone, quiet, until one voice cut through the noise. His own. "They're not just coming to fight," he said. "They're coming to erase us." The room fell silent. "You don't negotiate with a force that sees you as filth," Ambassador continued. "Walker understands this. He isn't reckless. He's realistic. Reluctantly, the council gave the order. Fire Thor's hammer. Staler stood by the console as the final charge built up. The cannon vibrated beneath the ground. The entire Pacific plate trembled as raw energy surged upward. Walker gave the order. Fire. A beam of white light shot from the surface of Earth, piercing space and crashing into the stealth fleet hidden behind Mars. On David's screen, one of the alien capital ships shattered into flaming pieces. The others began to scatter. Direct hit, John shouted. Thor's hammer is online. Walker nodded. Good. Now they know we're not just prey. Far across the stars, aboard the Council's main dreadnought, Grand Marshal Velk reviewed the battle logs in silence. An officer approached him. One of our fleets has fallen. The humans struck with planetary weaponry. Velk didn't flinch. They're fighting like cornered animals, he said. Desperate, unpredictable. The officer hesitated. Shall we increase pressure? Velk turned his glowing eyes toward the window, watching the stars burn quietly in the distance. No, let them think they've won a victory. He turned back to his console. When I arrive, they'll understand what war truly means. Back on the ESV Valor, the crew gathered in the main deck. They were tired, but alive. They had struck first. They had proven Earth wouldn't just wait to die. Walker looked out at the stars. This was only the beginning, he said. The stars over Mars burned brighter than usual. Earth's fleet hovered in high orbit, forming a wide defense ring around the planet. The tension on every ship was unbearable. Soldiers checked their weapons. Pilots waited in cockpits. Officers stood at their stations, silent and ready. Commander Walker stood on the command deck of the ESV Valor, eyes locked on the screen. Lines of red dots filled the monitor. Enemy ships. The Council's armada had arrived. Status, he asked. John replied quickly. They're here, 206 ships. Dreadnoughts, cruisers, and long-range artillery units. Walker didn't blink. Fleet response. Ready and holding formation. Thor's hammer is fully charged. Walker nodded. Then we begin. From deep space, the alien fleet approached in silence. At the front of the formation was the largest ship Earth had ever seen, the Council flagship Arconis, commanded by Grand Marshal Velk himself. Inside the Arconis, Velk watched Earth's fleet with a calm expression. His officers stood by. They formed a line around Mars, one officer said. Velk tilted his head slightly. Predictable, but not foolish. He raised his hand. Begin the assault. Suddenly, space lit up with fire. Alien cannons opened, sending streams of plasma bolts at Earth's ships. Explosions flared in the darkness. Shields flickered. Alarms rang. Walker stood firm. All ships, return fire. Keep formation. Don't break the line. Dozens of Earth warships responded. Missiles and plasma turrets blazed through the void. The two fleets clashed like waves crashing into each other. In the fighter bay, David launched with his squadron. He flew straight into the heart of the battle, weaving between blasts and enemy fighters. Keep it tight, he shouted. Don't chase. Defend the line. He spotted 3 alien fighters flanking a wounded Earth cruiser. I see them, he said. He dived, guns blazing, taking out 2 in quick succession. Tani, the third fighter, clipped his wing, sending his ship into a spiral. Alarm screamed. Mayday, David called out. I'm hit. His ship spun down toward the surface of Deimos, one of Mars's moons. He pulled up at the last second and crash-landed hard. His systems went dark. David groaned and pulled off his helmet, looking up at the sky still lit with explosions. Still breathing, he muttered. Good enough. Back on Earth, inside the control room of Project Thor's hammer, Staler wiped sweat from his brow. Cannon charged, his assistant called out. Target their central cruiser cluster, Staler said. Fire. The cannon fired with a deep rumble. A beam of raw energy shot from Earth, breaking through the clouds and streaking into space. On the battlefield, it struck a massive enemy cruiser and split it in two. The blast sent shockwaves, knocking several alien ships out of position. Tani, ESV Velar, John shouted. Direct hit. Enemy cluster is broken. Walker responded instantly. Focus all fire on their left flank. Push them off Mars orbit. The Earth fleet shifted. Like a wall of flame, they pushed forward. For the first time in the war, the Council fleet retreated slightly, caught off guard. But then a new warning came. Commander John said, his voice tense. We're detecting a massive energy buildup from the Arconis. Walker stared at the screen. Velk's ship is charging something. Inside the Council flagship Arconis, Velk stood in front of a glowing weapon system, one not seen in centuries. Release the ion core, he said. A pulse of red light surged forward. It was not a beam but a wave meant to disable. The energy hit several Earth ships at once. Their power died instantly. Engines stopped. Lights flickered out. They drifted helplessly. On the ESV Velar, systems trembled. Sparks flew. The lights dimmed but held. Walker gritted his teeth. They're using suppression tech. Reactivate auxiliary cores. Move us out of the pulse radius. Shields at 40%, John called. But we're still in the fight. In the hangar bay, medics rushed to support damaged units. Fires broke out on one of the smaller cruisers nearby. Staler opened a comm line. We've got hull breaches on the Gulliver. I'm sending auto repair drones. Do it fast, Walker said. We're not done. Then came a moment of silence. The Council ships paused. Velk's face appeared on every screen across the battlefield. You've fought well, humans. But this ends now. I offer one final chance. Stand down. Walker looked around at his crew. They were tired, bleeding, scared, but they were standing. He pressed the comm. We are Earth. We do not kneel. Suddenly the battlefield lit up again. Thor's hammer fired once more. Earth's fleet moved with new energy. The Council ships began to lose ground. 2 dreadnoughts fell. Earth's fighters, with David gone, still held the skies. Walker turned to John. Push them back. We take Mars or we die trying. John nodded, sending the order. On the surface of Deimos, David opened his emergency comm. This is Ghostblade. I'm alive. Requesting pickup. And next time, let me shoot first. The static cleared. A reply came through. Hold tight, David. Reinforcements inbound. He leaned back and smiled. Still in the fight. Walker looked at the stars beyond Mars. They wanted to crush us, he whispered. He clenched his fist. We just punched back. The battlefield over Mars had gone quiet. Smoke and debris drifted in space. Earth's fleet held its ground, barely, while the Council ships regrouped on the edge of the sector. Both sides had taken heavy losses, but Earth still stood. Inside the ESV Valor, Commander Walker studied the damage reports. His face was calm, but his eyes were tired. Burn marks covered parts of the deck. Crew members moved with urgency, patching up systems and rerouting power. John entered, holding a comm tablet. Incoming message, directly from Grand Marshal Velk. Walker took the tablet. Velk's face appeared, cold and expressionless. Commander Walker, your resistance is stronger than expected, but it changes nothing. I offer you this: a personal duel, a command-to-command challenge. You and me. Winner decides the fate of this battle. Accept, or your fleet dies. The message ended. John stared. Is he serious? Walker handed back the tablet. Yes, and he's right. If we keep fighting like this, we'll lose everything. Ambassador, who had just arrived, stepped forward. Velk wants to humiliate you. He doesn't just want victory. He wants to break your spirit. You say yes, he'll twist the rules. Walker shook his head. Then we beat him at his own game. Velk's chosen battleground was an old neutral outpost orbiting a dead moon, Station Echo, abandoned after the last war. Its power grid still worked, and its central chamber held a massive holographic battle simulator, once used to train officers in live war scenarios. Walker arrived alone in a small shuttle. The station was silent. Metal walls groaned under pressure. The doors opened, revealing Grand Marshal Velk already waiting. The alien was tall, dressed in dark command robes with glowing lines across his chest. His face was unreadable. You accepted, Velk said. I don't like bullies, Walker replied. They walked into the simulation chamber. A large circular table, lit up, projecting a 3D starfield between them. The duel, Velk said, is a tactical simulation. Each of us commands a virtual fleet, shaped by our real knowledge. The winner proves superior leadership. The loser stands down. Walker nodded. Let's begin. The battle simulator came to life. Both fleets appeared in space, one glowing red, the other blue. Walker controlled blue, Velk red. The duel began. Velk moved with precision. His ships formed walls and pushed forward with perfect formation. Walker watched carefully. He didn't try to match the Council's power head-on. He sent small squadrons to flank, baited Velk's ships into traps, and used the terrain of the simulated asteroid belt to his advantage. Velk narrowed his eyes. "You're improvising," he said. "No discipline." Walker smiled. "No chains either." Velk struck back hard, destroying 2 of Walker's cruisers. But Walker didn't flinch. He let Velk press forward, then revealed hidden mines, detonating them at the right moment. Half of Velk's front line vanished in the blast. On the ESV Valor, the crew watched the duel unfold through the live feed. Staler, John, and Ambassador stood side by side. "He's holding," John whispered. "He's actually holding." Inside the simulation chamber, Velk grew tense. He activated a surprise maneuver, surrounding Walker's capital ship with 3 dreadnoughts. "Checkmate," he said. But Walker smiled. "Is it?" Walker activated a hidden command. His main ship exploded on purpose. The blast wiped out all 3 of Velk's dreadnoughts. 3. The simulation paused. Silence filled the room. Then the results flashed. Victory. Commander Walker. Velk stared at the screen. His fists tightened. "You destroyed your own command ship to win." Walker nodded. "Sometimes you have to lose a piece to save the board." Velk stepped back, stunned. For the first time, the Grand Marshal showed emotion, confusion, maybe even respect. "You humans are chaos." Walker turned to leave. "We're survival." Back on the ESV Valor, the crew cheered as the result came in. David's voice came through from the med bay. "Told you he'd win." Ambassador smiled. "Now let's see if Velk keeps his word." Minutes later, the Council fleet began to pull back. One by one, the alien ships turned and disappeared into jump space. Earth's fleet didn't chase. They watched as the enemy vanished from their skies. Walker returned to the command deck. Staler greeted him with a nod. "You really did it." Walker looked out the window at Mars, still orbiting below. "We all did." But Walker knew it wasn't the end. Just the moment that would be remembered forever. Earth didn't kneel. It stood up and fought back. The stars were quiet. For the first time in days, there were no alarms, no enemy signals, no new threats appearing on the radar. The battlefield above Mars was scattered with debris and drifting ship hulls, but the silence felt like victory. The Council fleet was gone. Inside the ESV Valor, the crew stood together on the command deck. Tired faces, bruised hands. Some had burns, others limped, but all of them were still standing. Commander Walker walked in slowly. Every eye turned toward him. "They've pulled out," John said, barely believing it. "All of them." Walker nodded. "They lost the duel, and they knew, if they pushed us again, we'd make it cost them." The deck was quiet. No cheers, no applause, just a deep collective breath. "We held the line," Walker said, "and that means more than just a win. It means we showed them we're not afraid. We don't submit. Not now, not ever." In the Earth Global Council chamber, the news had already spread. Ambassador stood before the Council. "The Galactic Council is no longer absolute," he said clearly. "Their most powerful commander was challenged and failed. Now other worlds are watching." A screen behind him showed distant planets, colonies, outposts, and alien cities, all tuning in to Earth's victory message. "They see us now," Ambassador continued, "not as rebels, but as proof that power doesn't always win, that courage matters." The room stood in silence. Then, one by one, the Council members stood and saluted. On Earth's surface, memorials were being built. Large black stones rose in cities across the globe, each carved with the names of those who died in the battle. Thousands of names. Pilots, engineers, civilians caught in early attacks. In New York, a young girl stood at the base of a statue of a pilot holding his helmet. Her father's name was on the stone. She didn't cry. She simply placed a flower and whispered, "Thank you." Back aboard the ESV Valor, Staler was already back in the engineering bay, repairing systems. David sat in the med bay, arm wrapped in bandages, joking with nurses. John worked at the comms panel, tracking new diplomatic messages from distant outposts. Walker walked the halls alone, checking in with every section. He made sure to speak to every crew member he passed, even if just a nod or a word of thanks. When he reached the observation deck, Ambassador was already there. "They'll come back someday," Ambassador said quietly. Walker stared out at the stars. "Maybe. But next time we won't be alone." Ambassador looked over. "You think others will rise?" "I know they will," Walker replied. "They just needed someone to stand first." On a distant council world, Velk stood in silence before the High Council. He did not speak. He did not kneel. He simply turned and walked away, his cloak trailing behind him like a broken flag. The council halls had never been so silent. Back in Earth orbit, the fleet began to reorganize. Broken ships were salvaged. New ones were being built. The victory wasn't just in survival, it was in transformation. A new alliance had formed, not just of humans, but of species who had quietly hoped for change. And Earth had spoken for them all. That night, Walker recorded a message. It was broadcast to every corner of known space. "This is Earth. We were told to surrender. We answered with unity, with courage, with fire. We are not the strongest. We are not the oldest. But we are not afraid. To every world watching, know this: you are not alone, and your voice matters." The council demanded silence. We answered with thunder. The stars blinked above Earth, bright and endless. The silence wasn't fear anymore. It was peace, hard-earned, long overdue.